Stop! Stop right there! You think you can come into this video and just look at my first comparison and just walk away? Fools! Fools, says I! Nah, but I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into the comparison, because I messed up. Typical YouTuber face reaction. Oh my god, I messed up. Or, oh, I messed up. I'm laughing at myself. Anyway, what I wanted to get into was just a little bit of a deeper comparison between Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet. Or not Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to Breath of the Wild. Because I don't feel like my comparison video actually did it justice to either game. Because I did a lot of things where I would go, where one area in one game would be a lot shadier than the other variant. The desert one was pretty fine, because that's both like sun and everything. But like the grass section in Breath of the Wild, I went to an area that had a lot of sun, whereas in Pokemon Violet, I was in an area that had a lot of shade. And just little things like that make a difference in when trying to say that they're a comparison, because it's not a true comparison, because one's in shade and one isn't in shade. And so it ended up making, in some cases, it made Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild look a lot better than it actually does. And in other cases, it made Pokemon Violet look a lot better than it actually does. And so I just wanted to sort of aerate that out. And also the other thing I'll say is Breath of the Wild is really quiet. and I didn't really notice it until I did this comparison, where Pokemon has background music playing throughout your entire journey, whereas Breath of the Wild doesn't. So let's get into an actual comparison now. So, getting into the actual comparison, this is being in a grassy area with lots of sun. This is each game's respective desert areas in sun. This is each game's winter areas in sun. And now we're going to go through the same 3 places, but overnight. Here is climbing in both games. Here is gliding in both games. And finally, here are the respective map layouts and fast travel times. So this is me now just having gotten done recording the footage between comparing the two games, and there's a few conclusions we can come to. First off is that it really seems like Breath of the Wild is just an overall slower experience compared to Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. Because literally, it really feels like I'm trudging through mud everywhere I try to go. But that's just not fun for me. And the other thing about Breath of the Wild is that there's a lot of enemies. And now you'll say that there's a lot of Pokemon. But what I mean by a lot of enemies is it literally felt like every 5 bloody seconds I was getting into a fight. And things were just attacking me. You can even see it in my night desert footage. I was just attacked and there was no way for me to get away. The game literally forces you into a combat situation, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of the problem with Breath of the Wild for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no problems with combat. I like to fight in games. But when it's forced on you, and it's literally nothing but just constant battle, that's where it starts to get freaking annoying for me. Especially in a game like Breath of the Wild that's supposed to have a bigger emphasis on exploration. But no, instead you're trying to go and explore or do the thing for just a minute. Because each of those gameplay clips I recorded for a minute. That's all it was. And within that minute, I was getting 5, 6, 7 encounters with enemies that were just trying to kill me. And it just makes it really hard to actually explore in the game, if you do want to do that. Compare that to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where, yes, there are still Pokemon that will try to come at you, such as Tauros, such as Persian, that are a bit more aggressive and will try to attack you. But for the most part, if you don't want to fight them and you want to explore, which is the point of an open world game, to explore the open world, you can just choose to not fight them. Like, there's even a part that I was gonna just leave out. Because in Breath of the Wild, you can do campfires to progress time. And so I was doing that to make sure that I was in the morning for the winter section. And I was just trying to walk up to the campfire. And I was forced into a battle situation. And so it's definitely two different breeds. And so it's definitely a game that really forces you to just battle, whether you like it or not. Whereas in Pokemon, even with wild Pokemon, you can just ignore the battles entirely, if you so choose. And it lets you actually be able to explore the open world. And a lot of people talk about, and it just really frustrates, and that's why I've tried multiple times going back to Breath of the Wild, and it's just impossible for me to play. Because, like I said, you're forced into a battle every 5 seconds. And so, ultimately, I just get annoyed by the fact I keep having to battle, and I just stop playing. Even while doing the footage, I got annoyed because there kept being enemies. I couldn't just casually explore the open world. So, you know, what's a man supposed to do? What's a guy supposed to do? It just really feels like in Breath of the Wild, you're trudging through mud fighting against an army rather than exploring an open world and occasionally having to defend yourself. Like, my word. I just thought of something. Breath of the Wild is your brain on anxiety. You just think everything's coming out and attacking you every 5 seconds, whether or not they actually are. And even though in Breath of the Wild they actually are, and then Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is just a normal human brain, where it's like, oh yeah, no, not everything's just out to attack me. The other thing I will say, and this could just be perfection over the years, or just the nature of the games, or I don't know what it is, but for some reason, fast travel times are a lot quicker in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like, yeah, it still takes a couple seconds, but you're pretty much there. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, there's not only the time for the animations to out and then back in, but also, even if it was just like a little bit away, there was this massive loading screen in between. That loading screen itself, even if you just take the loading screens for both these times, it takes a lot longer to load Breath of the Wild compared to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, that could be because technically Breath of the Wild does have a lot higher graphics. So it just literally has more to load. That could be it. You know, it's got to make sure it loads all those 500 enemies that just pile on top of you. I really can't exaggerate that enough. You are fighting constantly in Breath of the Wild. It was annoying to get the footage. But that is all I have on the comparison of Pokemon Violet and Breath of the Wild. I will not be talking about this anymore. I just wanted to go into that little bit of extra detail. So thank you all for joining me today, and I will see you all next time. So, after all the recording I've been doing, this is the state of my tripod. Yeah. Basically, this leg that's all taped together, was originally broken by Blake, who kept nudging it in every recording, and eventually it snapped, because this is just like a $20 Walmart tripod. And then this leg, I tripped over this leg, and it just finally snapped. And so that was actually my bad. And so, yeah, I mean, technically, it still works. Like, there's enough of a connection that I can make it balance on this one, kinda, maybe. But, yeah, so I just need to get a new tripod. I'm doing that literally tomorrow, probably, at some point. But, yeah, I just wanted to show the sorry state of my tripod. In other news, I now have a good fencing weapon. On God. Yes, my garbage can is on my couch because I was going to be cleaning, but then I decided to video edit instead. Don't judge me.